This is the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of land, water and sky. We pay our respect to their elders past, present and future emerging leaders. We extend our respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who live in the Yass Valley local government area. The board. Let us be still and remember the presence of God. As we commence our meeting, let us together pray for guidance and help. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon this council, direct and prosper our deliberations to the true will of Australia and the people of Yass Valley. Amen. Our apologies, all present. Any declarations of pecuniary interests or special disclosures? And we'll go straight on to the reports to council. For one, the Yass water treatment plant upgrade, final business case.
Confidential. I would like to do two things. Firstly, I would like to thank the staff involved in the preparation of our final detailed business case. This is a significant project for Yass Valley, costlier even than the raising of the dam wall, which was born on the backs of Yass ratepayers and is still on our backs collectively. We received no federal assistance and no state assistance from the governments of the day. That means that we have the fourth highest water rates in New South Wales currently. It also means that we're a third more costlier in our water rates than similar government areas. That is significant to note as we go into the report today, because the feedback from the initial draft, which was rejected, was that one, it was a draft, but also, are we truly committed to carrying out this project? And to do that, we have to commit whether there are grants or loans. And I think it's important to note tonight that in considering this, we have to do what's right for Yass Valley ratepayers. And I have struggled with this over the last couple of weeks, particularly in light of Councillor Adrian Cameron's motion last month, which prioritised above all other projects in Yass Valley, the water treatment plant. And we have the unenviable task of weighing up the cost of living issues that our current residents face and delivering safe water for not only our current residents, but those into the future. So I commend staff for putting together this report. I think there are things that we can do to further heighten it, but we'll go into those later. But I just wanted the significance of this to be noted, that we will need to take out loans and hike up the water rates once again if we do not succeed. And not only that, if we don't succeed in this and we don't choose to do it, we will lose the Housing Acceleration Fund money, which is still in the kitty, which is around $6 million. So it's an incredibly important project that we're considering tonight. And I once again want to thank staff, particularly Cougar, who put a lot of heart and soul and effort into this, and he is to be commended, while simultaneously dealing with all of the boil water alerts, wet weather events, and actually managing an ageing system whilst trying to put together a business case. So thank you, Cougar.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. The other councillors like to make a comment? Or an open session? Do you want to make any comments?
No, I think Councillor Jones has said a lot, summarised a lot, yeah.
Okay, well, Councillor Cameron.
If we're still in open session before discussing anything about confidentiality, can we raise any questions at this stage?
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
All right. To I just want to get some clarification on a couple of things in the report, and I just think they need to be just sort of made a bit more clearer. It says there on page 5 to raise the typical water rate over 3 years by up to $300. Is that a total of $300 over the 3 years? It's not $300 per year, is it? So I just want clarification on
Yeah,
that.
through you, Mr. Mayor, it's $100 per year over 3 years, so a total of $300.
Okay, so it is a total of $300 per year. No, sorry. No. I've missed, yeah, okay.
$100 a year,
$100 a year.
for 3 years, which totals three.
Yeah, at the end of the 3 years, Director of Infrastructure, does the water rates go back to the initial sum? Or do they stay at that higher level?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, they'll stay at that level until the loan is paid down.
Which, if the, I know it's hard to sort of estimate how long that would take. I suppose I'm really asking, does it ever go back?
We assume, through you, Mr. Mayor, we're assuming the loan will be for a 20-year period. It will go back at the end of that term.
Okay, so to be paying the extra $300 for 20 years for after the initial first 3 years. Okay, that's one thing. One of my pet ideas, on page 6, it talks about the project delivery, and through you, Mr. Mayor, to the Director. Has any thought being given to the representation on that committee of anyone from council, say for example, the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor or anyone else who was totally competent in the area to be part of that project team? I noticed that when I walked past the centre near my place that's being taken over by council at this stage for the staffing issues. On the plaque there, it says that there were councillors on that project team, including the Deputy Mayor at the time. So is there any thought given to having some councillor representation on that project team?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what page are you on? Page 6.
Project delivery. Because what we've got there at the moment is a project director, project engineer, and somebody from outside externally who is an expert in the area, probably from the Department of Water, I suppose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that definitely can be considered as we move into the construction and the design phase for this project.
Okay, thanks for that. That would be very good, I think. And the other point, the final point I would like to make, the issue at the moment is that if we don't get the grant, then we're going for loans. But the word equity is used in that phrase, in that recommendation further on in another part of the paper and in here as well. So it's either debt or equity. Would we have any equity to use? Because I think all we've been talking about so far is debt, going into getting a loan, going into debt. Is there any equity that could be used? In your mind, sorry.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor.
So,
That's just been lifted straight from the wording put in the business case by the consultant.
Right.
It did cross my mind about what equity we would put in. I think it's really the only solution if we're not unsuccessful with grant funding is a loan. I don't think it's about equity, I think it's about a loan.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Any other questions? Councillor Jones.
Through Mr. Mayor, I'm actually going to prompt Councillor Cameron on something. But firstly, if I could ask how we incorporate into our second audience. So obviously the Housing Acceleration Fund is a very technical business case that we're putting together. But how can we add things like the very important things to our community, things like the fact that our local hospital can't do dialysis because of the quality of our water. How can we put the pain that our residents have experienced, that have ended up on national media. How can we put those into a document like this in terms of, you know, could there be an appendices? And I just wanted to throw to Councillor Cameron because during a recent pre-meeting workshop, whatever we call those things, he had a very valid point to make about the voice of the people being heard as part of this report.
Happy to respond. Look, I've made the point previously that we've really got two audiences. We've got the audience at the New South Wales government, and I think the business case is superb. It will get through that milestone, get over that step. My worry, unfortunately, is the next step, which is the important one, where you go to the national water grid and basically ask for money. I have mentioned another successful application in round one that really was very punchy about telling the stories, telling the implications of not having a project delivered. And I think one of the ways that I could see is, and I know it's short notice, but maybe the communications people might like to sort of try and drag up as many articles where people are talking about the direct effects of the water boarding issue, but also go back even further to other issues that have occurred. And I just think that people who had to put up with the 16 days of the recent water incident were really aggrieved, and I think some people, not all, but some people really did have difficulty in adjusting to that. And it may have been physical issues, it may have been mental issues as well, particularly with kids. And I just think that if we can do an attachment, whether it's to the letter, with the letter, or the accompanying letter, or with the report itself, if we could get together some of the articles where people are really talking about how they were affected, I think we would make it a stronger case if possible. To that audience.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we did take that on board the other day and suggested that that goes in the application for funding. There is a section in the business case that relates to the objectives of the Housing Acceleration Fund section, which has been worked up. But this component is something that we can put into the actual application rather than the business case. The business case is the business case. The description of the project and the benefits, or if we're unsuccessful, what impact it will have on the community, are certainly things that we can make sure that they're in the application. It's an online application that we need to follow. So we can pick that up. And I think Councillor Cameron mentioned, was it the Shire of Wallen or something? Wannon.
Yeah, Western District of Victoria.
Yeah.
Down that way.
Former Prime Minister's area.
Melbourne, yes.
Yeah.
Phrase of term. Thanks for that.
Okay, any further comments?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, a couple of questions to the Director of Infrastructure and Assets. I'm on page 5 of the report, particularly 3.3. Yes, right to the key issues. At the third dot point in, it reads ageing treatment assets reaching the end of their serviceable life. My question is, could you argue that some of our treatment assets have already reached the end of their serviceable life? That's my first question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, definitely. The water treatment plant itself is at the end of its life. So this business case, our option 4 is to go through and replace all of those, or use the civil infrastructure there as best we can, but replace a lot of the treatment assets themselves, bring it back up to date.
And following on from that point, and in reference to Councillor Jones, who has some fairly spectacular looking bath water, as she has chronicled, and I live in Domestic Street too, so I know that they're not piping Perrier to Domestic Street. Would it be, and I'm in a townhouse there which was built 27 years ago, would it be possibly an explanation that colourful nicotine-coloured bath water, that the treatment asset there has reached the end of its serviceable life.
Through Mr Mayor, so part of this business case as well is a reticulation system upgrade. So we need to go around our retic system and include and upgrade where the hydrants and the flushing valves are, so we can flush our mains to a better standard than we currently are without having to turn off half the town to do a flushing program. That will be part of this program as well over the next couple of years, as well as the upgrade of the water treatment plant.
Okay, and then my second original question is the second last dot point. The terminology here, it's foreign to me. It starts inadequate, or I read inadequate treatment process redundancy, but no idea what process redundancy means. Inadequate treatment process redundancy and increasing water demand in the future, limiting the ability to induct critical assets. The second part of that sentence I understand, but the first part.
Through Mr Mayor, so at the moment we've only got one treatment train, so one water treatment process. So the new treatment plant will have two. So if one was to have to go offline for maintenance or for any reason, we would then have the ability to transfer the water through the second treatment. Right.
Thanks for that clarification.
Councillor Jones.
Through Mr Mayor, if I can just also ask the director, because it's probably something that's on a lot of our community's mind, because they are at the user end, the people that have to replace their hot water systems, people that have to replace their kettles earlier than usual, et cetera, why the preferred option isn't option 3, because option 3 has the water softening built into it, and option 4 has come up as our preferred option. Can you just talk on the 2 points in terms of the cost variation, but also on the challenges facing us in terms of actually being able to deliver that option 3 with the regulatory requirements in terms of the sludge ponds and what we actually do with the byproducts of water softening?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So option 3 would have been our preferred, but due to the cost and hesitancy of increasing rates even further than what option 4 is going to have.
Yeah, it would be what, 500?
It is quite considerably more than option 4, definitely. We do have the softening process is included in the design, but at a future date. So the reverse osmosis can be added onto the project when costs become more available or funding becomes available. We also have the treatment of the byproduct that comes out of the reverse osmosis process itself. So there's a regulatory issue we need to sort out before we can implement that anyhow. So we've made the decision is preferred to go with option 4 with the delayed reverse osmosis or softening process, so we can work through those processes and make sure that we get all the approvals we need.
So if I'm reading you correctly, the challenge for Yass Valley not being a coastal community that can just put this straight into a salty ocean is where does it go?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, good question. That's something that we're going to have to assess and find a final place for that to be treated or disposed of.
Further questions? Comments? No? Okay, well, it looks like we go now into closed session. The recommendation is that the report be classified confidential in accordance with section 10A2 the Local Government Act 1993, which permits the meeting to be closed to the public for business relating to commercial information of confidential that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a competitor of the council and matters affecting the security of council, councillors, council staff or council property. Moved Councillor Roux, seconded Councillor Potter. Councillor Cameron?
Yeah, I'd like to oppose the motion on a number of different grounds. I think at a recent council meeting, we had, I think, 5 issues that went into confidentiality, of which at least 2 or 3 of those, in my mind, in my opinion, and it is my opinion, didn't need to be there for the reasons stated. And in fact, one of them was, there were 2 different reasons given. And one of the reasons that was chosen to put it under was then basically invalid as far as I was concerned, because the people had tried that one 6 months earlier. So I think we are starting to drift into a lot of confidentiality when it's actually not that necessary. And I'm not sure about this one, whether it is that necessary. I think when we ran for election 2.5 years ago or so, a lot of people commented on the lack of transparency. And I'm sure that councillors here who are running for election again in September 14th will be talking about transparency again, because I don't think things have improved. I think things, in my opinion, have deteriorated. I think we have to be thinking about what are you going to say when people ask you, what are you doing about transparency at the council? And I think some people, I'll retract that, I think councillors need to be aware that they've got to be thinking about this issue and talking about it in a positive way. If you have a look at the reasons for the commercial, the information or the reasons for confidentiality, one says confer a commercial advantage on a competitor. Well, this is a really particular application for grant funding and about a particular project. And I can't see in my own mind, I'm sure there'll be people who will enlighten me, that this would confer some sort of advantage on a competitor to council. Also, the other issue is affecting the security of council, councillors, council staff, or council property. Yeah, maybe, but I still think that that's really a long bow to justify this whole sort of area to be confidential. I think one of the things that has been explained at our pre-meeting is that we'll go in and have a look at the business case, and then we'll decide what's confidential and what's not. I think that's not fair. I don't think that's fair to the electorate. I don't think it's fair to the community that we're saying, oh, we're not going to tell you what's confidential. We're going to make it all confidential initially, and then we'll publish some things later that we think might be okay. I don't think that's a good way of operating. I think it's not in the spirit. It's not the wrong thing to do, but it's not in the spirit of trying to be transparent about what's going on at council. So I think those are some of the issues that I'd just like to mention that I think we need to be much more aware of. I also think that further on in the confidential section, or what looks like the confidential section, that may be still confidential, other reasons are given of why it should be confidential. And I don't believe that those reasons are in the legislation and shouldn't be used. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Karen. Councillor Paul.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was under the impression that putting the business case out to the public at this stage actually jeopardises our chance of getting the grant. And I don't think we are in any position to jeopardise anything. We're putting something huge on the table, and getting this grant is such a benefit to our community. To me, I do agree with the transparency thing, and I do note that we've already had the discussion that most parts of that business case will be made public after the event, but to put it out into the public before it goes through the grant application process actually puts it at risk of being knocked back for that reason. So that's why it's talking about, in a competitive nature, that other people who are applying for the grant, it can give them, they can look at our thing and go, ooh, and they can one up us. And if we went through that thing and we did all this in a public arena, and if that was the reason that we didn't get this grant, I'm very disappointed that would actually happen, because I think we need everything we've got. We need every single card on the table to pull this off. And I think I think it is the right thing, and I know I've had lots of conversations with people out there in the community, and I look forward to when we can put this into the community and talk about it more publicly. But if doing that actually jeopardises our chance of getting it, then I think that's just not worth the risk.
Thank you, councillor Potter. Any further? Councillor Downing?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think there was an opportunity for us to certainly put something in the public arena beyond what we have. Noting that there are some reasons which we've had listed here tonight, including the safety schematics, the site layout, which I think is sensitive information because it can identify vulnerable locations on a major infrastructure for our community. Things like that should not be in there in the public sphere. I note what Councillor Bothan has described in terms of we need to remember we're in a competitive process with other contenders. So I think Councillor Cameron might be focusing more on the end result of when we go to tender in terms of there's very little here in the commercial analysis that is terribly damning. But I note that for the reasons of the competitive process of the actual grant process, the national grid process, national water grid process, that we do need to keep every card that we have to ourselves and play the game that every other council is playing right now, and everybody wants a slice of that pie. And we want 100% of what we're going for, not a half, not a third. We want the whole lot because our community is in pain. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Downs. Any further comments, councillors? Councillor Ruddy.
Yes, I support the comments that have been made by Councillor Poppin. We are in a competitive situation. We're in a competitive situation with other councils who are also applying for grants. I've just been reading a paper with there's 77 other councils that have not been supported in the past, and they're all out there trying to get this grant money. And it's important that we get our act together first. I'm really annoyed about this idea of transparency. It's almost as if we as councillors are hiding things from the public. Our motion here today says just that we will allow everybody to look at as much of this business case as possible, except for the very things that might affect security or already commercial incompetence, and we need to look at that. And I just find this ridiculous, to be honest. It's making us look as if we're some kind of cabal, hiding from the public, and we're not at all. All the information is here. All that we're holding back is some very important information that needs to be discussed amongst us. We make our decision, and then we'll allow the public to know what it is, and we stand or fall on that. And I'm going for no, I won't go any further with that. All right.
Thank you, councillor Ruddy. Any further comments, councillors? If not, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? As against? Councillor Cameron. I'll declare the motion. Okay. Go to closed session. Yep. Right. Thank you, members of the public, for your attendance. Half an hour. Good afternoon. Go.